welcome to another Sci-Fi Fantasy Saturday. Today, I'm going to unbox Monolith Arena from Portal Games. Now, I came across this at a half-price bookstore. It was on sale. I've been sitting back on this one for quite a few years, wondering whether I was going to pick it up or not and waiting for it to kind of come down in price to pick it up. Why was I waiting on this? Well, I already have this game in this format, Neroshima Hex. This is the second edition of Neroshima Hex, and actually I think there's at least 2 or 3 other editions out there. Now I think they might be up to their 4th edition or something like that. But I stayed with the second edition and did not buy all the extras that went along with it. But it has branched out and has added several expansions. But this is a very tight, well-designed, somewhat abstract skirmish game. The Neroshima Hex is set in kind of this post-apocalyptic world, and there's other games that have been put into this setting, or that they've developed, that Portal Games have developed into this setting. But Neroshima Hex is a very tight skirmish game, almost chess-like, but yet much more of a combat game. Monolith Arena is a fantasy version of that, a fantasy skirmish board game. So it's a fantasy version of Neroshima Hex, but it has a lot of the same concepts that made Neroshima Hex so interesting, and then they've added a few new ones of their own. Also, just like Neroshima Hex, there's several expansions that have come out for it, and after I picked this up, I ended up picking up some of the expansions. I don't know if there's more out there now, and again, I don't know if this is really being supported because they continue to move on with Neroshima Hex, but this is as much as I've found for Monolith Arena, which is the base game, and a couple of army packs is what they call it. And I'll do a separate unboxing on those, so you'll get a 2 for today on that. So let's take a look inside, or let's take a look at the back of the box here. As you see here in Monolith Arena, you get 4 factions. The board is not a huge board, and the board is really not the game. The game is the faction. So this is a game where you're going to be placing down factions on the board, and how you orientate them, where they're facing and who they're connected to and how they get support makes all the difference. And then there will be a tile that you play that allows you to attack or activate your abilities. And then when you play that, then it activates all the different factions and how they are aligned. So if you have some that are within range or have a range attack and are within range of the enemy, well, then they'll attack the enemy. And some, if they are right next to them and they have special abilities, they might be able to attack, or they might be able to block or do certain things. But the attacks go off in an order. So certain tiles or parts of your factions will go off first, and then there'll be a whole second layer, then a third layer. And so these attacks will go in order, and then based on how they're oriented and how they're connected, that plays out. So I said it can be somewhat chess-like. You're kind of setting up your attacks in advance, and then you play these attack tiles, and then it sets it all off. But it'll set it off in order, and then sometimes you can beef up your attacks because they're attached to something, or some attacks might be to neutralize another faction. I mean, there's all different special abilities. Each of the factions have different units, asymmetrical pairings or asymmetrical forces that have special abilities, and that's what makes it interesting with the different factions. And then those other battle packs or army packs are 2 additional factions. So with this 4 here, and then I'll have 6 to play now. The original Neroshima Hex came with 4, but then, as I said, there's been several iterations or editions of it. They've added a lot of factions. I don't even know what the number is up to now. One of the things they added to Monolith Arena that's a little different than Neroshima Hex are these monoliths, hence Monolith Arena. And so there's this special rule on how you put in, so you're going to put your tiles. This is kind of a tile laying game. You'll put your tiles in there, and that adds something to the game, or adds support or something like that. It's been a while since I've read up on that, but that is something that you're not going to find in Neroshima Hex. And it's talking about Neroshima Hex right there, saying it's based on that. So let's get inside the box and see what we get in this game here. If you like the post-apocalyptic theme and having a lot more content to choose from, then I would probably suggest stay with Neroshima Hex, and because that's going to be probably more to your liking, and there's a lot more offered in the Neroshima Hex space. And they've come up with some stuff recently as well. If you really want fantasy, well, this is the fantasy version of Neroshima Hex, and it's the same designer as well. All right, so you got a nice thick box here. Good thick box. This is kind of a standard square Euro game, hobby game type box, and nice thick there. You get your rule booklet, and it's going to be full color, of course. And it looks like it's 23 pages, but you've got art on the back here, and nice art. I mean, if you like the art, it's kind of cool. So 22 pages. This is multiplayer game rules. And then this talks about how you use the monoliths. Again, that monolith is kind of a special rule or new to this system. It's not part of the Neroshima Hex system. Here's tile descriptions here. And I think you can play, I don't know if you have to play the game with the monolith. I'd have to read up on that. I think you can play just normal Monolith Arena without the monolith and do it like Neroshima Hex, I think. And so I think this is an optional, but this tells you how to use it there. This is all talking about tile descriptions, order tiles, runes, common, and the like there. So this is all tile descriptions here, which is most of the game here. So let's just turn to the front here. So you got contents. Here's your 4 different factions. You have Lords of the Abyss, Dragon Empire tiles, Harbinger of the Forest tiles, and Guardians of the Realm. So that's kind of cool. You got 4 unique factions there. You're going to have plastic monoliths, 3 for each one of those factions, an active player or probably start player type tile, but the active player tile. Then there's going to be some markers, some administrative type stuff, wounds, nets. As I said, some of these units that on your team might have like the ability to cast nets and the like. Disarmament markers, poison markers, entrenchment, the net marker for the dragon factor, so I guess they have a separate one. 8 hit point markers. And again, this is a skirmish game, so you're going to be playing against the other side and then knocking them down. I can't recall if you start like with 20 hit points or something like that. It's very magic of them, but and then you battle out until you've done enough hit points on them, or damage, and like to their headquarters, I believe, is what you have out there. There'll be a starting piece at your headquarters. Initiative markers, alliance, and faction reference sheets. And these faction reference sheets, we'll get to that. That will explain some of the different abilities for the different factions. So here's your basic rules starting on 4. Goal of the game. Let's take a look at that goal of the game while we're here. The goal of the game is to eliminate the other player's banner. The player who decreases the enemy's banner's hit points to 0 wins. So yeah, so it's that banner. As in the Neroshima Hex, I think it's like HQ, but here's banners that you have to knock down, and that's what their banner looks like. And it's got those little prongs out there because you're going to attach units to it where the banner will be able to support it in some regard. Yeah, 20 hit points. So it looks like they start with 20 hit points. So here's your setup. Here's your gameplay, and a lot of it's going to be pulling these tokens out, or these tiles out, and then playing them. You know, some of these tiles are like, I think they're called runes here, are activation type things that they let you do actions or attacks and the like, and others are units that actually go on the board, and each faction has their own unique set of these tiles. Using tile features, using tiles, here's battles. And that's when you have to play a battle tile to activate that tile. Then they're going to start going in the order of attack. And then you'll do with certain levels of attacks, then the next level, then whatever. So whatever's left over, you know, if you had a unit that's like a third level attack, they might not be around by the time you want to initiate their attack. So it's almost like a speed aspect of the skirmish. They're going to attack faster and attack earlier. So again, that's the kind of the abstract chess standpoint of this. You really got to think ahead on where you're placing stuff, and what the special abilities are and how they could be triggered based on the tiles. But of course, the other side is going to be doing the same thing, and then it's kind of this, you know, that's where the real strategy is who's going to trigger it and when, and do you get your pieces in place enough to set up your combination of attacks. You got the end game here. Here's victory. There's a point where if you have so many tiles on the board, or there can't be attack or something like that, there's certain ways the game can end. Here's your victory. And then the rest of this, so that's only up to pages like 4 to 9 is the general rules. And the rest are just descriptions of the different tiles, because you really need to understand what the tiles do, because that's really the game. The game's in the tiles themselves. So you got your initiative, you got board tiles, you've got banners, which are kind of your headquarters. That's which is like the flag or the king, you know, so to speak, if you're talking about chess. Champions, and then it's talking about the different symbols. And so you have each one of these is like a detailed description of all the different tiles. And again, each one of the factions is going to have different tiles or a different makeup. They might have some common abilities, but the units are going to be different. Then you get the, oh, wow, look at it. They're kind of, wow, they have a little bit of a glaze, kind of, I don't know if you can pick that up here, but there's a little bit of a shiny part and then this texture part to it. So there's your Dragon Empire rules, feature. So they have this charge, which is a separate rule. They have cavalry and boundless, or some features to them. You got a little bit of background to them. And then there's the tiles you get. You have banner, here's your champions, here's your runes, and here's your orders. So runes are going to be some like a support thing. So you see those little nodes there, they'll attach to certain things and they'll like boost whatever they're attached to. The orders are the things that do activations, like your battles, move. You know, you have to play in order to you can move. Once you place a unit, it stays there unless you move it. Sometimes it might have a special ability that allows it to move as well. But this is really the meat of the game is your champions and what's on the board, and the banners on the board, of course, but you're trying to protect that. The runes are supporting that stuff, and then the orders are actually, you know, that's where you're triggering different things to do. So that's the Dragon Empire there. Then you have, the art's pretty good here. I kind of like that art, and it's nice color. This is the Lords of Abyss. They have orders, features, common problems. So they got a little bit extra rules to these guys. Then you have the Guardians of the Realm. And again, each one of these has like a little background on them, and then just general rules of their orders and stuff. And then you have their actual description of their tiles. So you can have this on the board and kind of have this is kind of your player reference as you're playing. And what does that tile do? Okay, that's what it does. And then your last faction out of the box is Harbingers of the Forest. Take a look at those guys here. I know you're picking up that little bit of shiny there, but there's a shine to it, or a overlay, and then there's this textured part. Excuse me, pretty cool. Here's your banner, champions, and runes. There you go. Then we get into the punch boards, which are decent thickness here. You can tell, nice thickness. And so this will be all the different punch boards for one of the factions here. You can see there's their banner. These are probably runes. And then you've got some champions here. And they're real, I mean, they're double-sided, but really there's one side that's active and the rest of it is, you know, the same insignia or whatever that faction is. And here's some of your orders right here, as you can tell. So that's going to be a battle. You play that, then you'll instigate a battle. And you'll see some of the icons of what they're special. This is where they attack and what their value of the attack is. So like this is a 2 that way, 1, 1, 1, and then you've got the numbers is the order of which it will attack and the like. Here's some more factions here, or another faction, I should say. Look at that guy. That guy looks interesting. Then you got some more factions here. And I got to say that, I mean, I have Neroshima Hex, the second edition, which was good. I mean, the gameplay is excellent, but it's okay. I mean, I think they've upgraded the graphics and the like over the different editions. And this one, right out of the box, is really cool graphics. At least I find them interesting. And some more factions here, and the fourth faction. And they've got some multi-use orders here. See that. And then the leftovers of the factions, looks like it's mostly orders and possibly runes. And I think this is for an alliance thing. This is the active player and the like. So I mean, this really is a I think you can play multiplayer, but this is, I think, best as a 2-player game. Again, it's very kind of chess-like in my opinion. You can see here the board's not huge. There's your board. Got art on the back there. It's a nicely mounted board. In fact, it's wrapped. But there's your board. So you don't have a huge space here. It's a very tight skirmish game where you have to think, you know, you're thinking 3-4 moves ahead on where stuff goes. And how it's going to, you know, when you play one of those trigger tile in order, which is like a trigger tile, how it all plays out. You get some baggies in here. I guess that to hold your tokens, and then you get these monoliths, which I think this is like ways to support your banner. Again, I have to read up on this. It's been a long time since I've actually looked at these rules, but that's nice little plastic there. But you'll put I think you put your banner or runes or something you put in here, a tile you put in here, and then this goes on the board, and you can like stack these up on there as well. And so you have 3 of these for each of the different factions that are in play, which I think I kind of wonder, that kind of begs each of the 4 factions, I should say, in play. I wonder if these come with a... well, I'm jumping ahead. We can't talk about that now. So anyway, so that is what you get in a box of Monolith Arena. It's mainly, again, this is a tile game, and so you're going to be drawing these tiles and playing these and playing them on the board, and aligning them or configuring them in such a way where they're touching and they're facing certain ways to give you the attack, and we have other stuff attached to it to give it support or boost its attack or defense. And then you'll be playing these orders to do things like to rearrange a tile based on, because somebody might have moved something, or a battle might have eliminated something, or you use these battle. Here, these have the special ability of a charge. That's like a special attack. So there's like these special features, but these orders are really what trigger everything. Once you play that, then you got to go through this whole progression of these attack first, these attack next, these attack third, and whatever the board state is by the time you get to that third attack, that's what it is. So you really are trying to think ahead on what you're doing here. So these are the different tiles. You get these player aid cards here, which are, you know, as you can tell, you can feel that texture, or hear that texture on there. Nicely done. That explains all your different tiles, and then you get the full color rules. That is what you get in a box of Monolith Arena. As I said, if you're a fan of Neroshima Hex and wanted to get a fantasy theme and get a new rule with this, with the monoliths, then this is probably a no-brainer. But if you're not, if you really like the post-apocalyptic and want a little bit more modern skirmish combat, then Neroshima Hex is probably where you want to stay. Plus, there's newer versions and iterations that have a lot more than just 2 army packs. There's a lot out there in this space. But I thought I'd pick this up just because it was a good deal, and I wanted to try it out with the new monoliths. I wanted to read up on that and see how that rule plays. And just have a little bit of a different iteration of the game. This is a good, solid system. I can highly recommend it as a 2-player, somewhat abstract game, but a skirmish game. And I wanted to see how this plays out with the fantasy aspect of it. That's what I have for today. Thanks for stopping by for Sci-Fi Fantasy Saturday. If you've played Neroshima Hex or played any of its iterations, or if you played Monolith Arena, please tell me about it in the comments. Let me know what you think. If you're interested in these, love to hear that as well. If you have questions about it, love to see a dialogue started. So that's what I have for you today. Thanks for stopping by. Greatly appreciate you spending any time with me. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, evening, morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.